This is Prince. We're here on PlayStation 5 Pro. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is a really interesting game. I took a look at this when it was on the Steam Next, where they kind of promote certain Steam games. This one really genuinely fascinates me. So this is a game where you're trying to, I guess, claim something that belongs to you, as to say. And you're going through this manor, this mysterious manor. And you're trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And you're trying to figure out, through a series of puzzles, how to get what you're after. So, someone has died. You're welcome to Mount Holly. And it's something a little bit different. So there's some rules here. You're trying to fix or work through this challenge in order to become the heir. This is right at the bottom there. And there's challenges here. You can't stay overnight. No tools or items. Stuff may be not taken. And do not assume the rooms you find today will be the rooms you find tomorrow. So that's the idea here, is you are trying to slowly work through this house in order to get to a specific space in a specific place. And it may seem like a straightforward thing and task, but you only have so much energy and you only have so much time, and it's really genuinely fascinating. So it's as you play the game, the challenges as you go through it to make it through, and you've only got so much of a day, and you're trying to find secrets and figure out what exactly is going on in this game. And it's really quite interesting, because the funny part is what I'm showing you here is just kind of the start of it. But the game's true intrigue to me is as you go further, you get more access to more exotic things and setups and scenarios. So your adventure really opens up the more you play it, and you get to see cooler things and have crazier challenges and puzzles. And it's just really genuinely fascinating. And there's all these different rooms, and there's all these different scenarios. And you're just trying to find this special room, and you're progressing every day, and yeah, it's really quite neat. And I don't know, 5 apples, 5 bananas, 5 oranges. Okay, I don't know specifically if this will be something that fully grabs your attention necessarily, depending on the type of player you are. But this really is, to be quite an interesting experience, because it is so different. And then there's rules too as to where you can kind of end up going, if that makes sense. Some rooms have certain locked doors, and there's just there's this really neat sense of randomness to it. And it's really quite fascinating. And you can also you can use the gyro kind of thing, the touchpad. You can use the touchpad to look around if you prefer that instead. So 4K resolution, 60 FPS, but it's not that doesn't matter, because it's a game where you're just kind of, you're not just walking through it, but you are kind of walking through it. And it's really neat. And I can't tell if for some people it would come across as really boring. But for me, it's really quite intriguing, and it does, like I said, you kind of have to understand the slow kind of opening of it until things do start to really get elaborate. And then when things are elaborate, it's really quite cool, because you're not sure really what's gonna happen and stuff, and how you're gonna end up in the next, what's gonna happen next, or what sort of room setup you're gonna have. And Yeah, it's kind of a cool puzzle scenario is what it is. It's like I'm mostly trying to give you like a nice little teaser of like what this game can be. And from there, you'll either find it kind of fascinating or maybe a little too weird or just the right kind of weird, strange experience that like you might be into. Because yeah, it's kind of really cool. That's really mostly what I want to get across. Is just like it's very different, and the more you see and the more you do, the more like you get, and the crazier things can kind of be as you explore, and that is so cool. But yeah, it was so funny because they had like the demo, like I mentioned. I don't have any gems left. They had this demo, like I was mentioning, at the Steam Next thing, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. And it was sort of like as soon as there was like the cutoff for the demo, if that makes sense. Like as soon as the demo started cut off, I was like, oh, they've got me like hooked. And yeah, that was kind of like semi-annoying from the perspective of being like, well, I want to know what's happening next, so I've been kind of waiting for this one to sort of release in this way so that I could sit there and play more of it, just because I was so enthralled by the concept of it and the mystery of it. And it's just like, the more you gather stuff, the more you get things, and the more you can do stuff. And see how we've gone back now. We're going back through the rooms because I reached a dead end for that path. And you'll notice now I you know, have different items to open other things. And it's just really quite interesting. I'm trying to not do the puzzle because I don't want to sit here and think about doing a puzzle when I talk about the game, but it's just like, it's kind of like beautiful, and it's got a very interesting, like it's got a very interesting aesthetic to it that I quite love. And I just think it's a really cool gameplay concept, because if you do it right, you can really see and do some interesting things, if that makes sense. And it's just the randomness of this crazed house and the challenge of this crazed house that I find utterly fascinating. Oh, and the giant duck. Duck. The Red Prince. And like everything, I don't know how to describe it. Everything kind of like matters that you can interact with. Like there's always, like it all kind of like interacts, and it all sort of like works out in certainly interesting ways. I think the idea is cool too, because you see a lot. Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to look at the map. Oh, there we go. You see a lot of games that sort of use this concept of like randomness, right? Randomness in your layouts, randomness in how you work through a room. But like, I don't know if I've never necessarily seen it used in a way that like creates a sense of atmosphere like this, where you are in a puzzle kind of way. A club sandwich. Yum. I don't have enough money for it. I kind of want the clubhouse. I wonder if we could come... Anyways, because yeah, you've only got a finite amount of steps, right? So like, if you end your journey, and then you come back, and then it's like a new situation. See, it goes into the nursery there. It would have been better to have a longer stretch. Because it's like, eventually you run out of your ability to progress, and then you redo it, and you go here. And then you can have like upgrades. So it's basically like a bit of a roguelike experience. But it's a very different roguelike experience than you're probably used to. Because it's unique in your challenge. I found a few unimpressive pebbles. Well, that Was it worth the effort? And yeah, you gotta have this balance of stamina and points, because you may get to a point where you're trying to progress and you may not have what you need, and mostly what I'm trying to say is this game, to me, is really genuinely fascinating. Because it's so different and it uses a concept that we see so often, but it at least tries to do something a little bit different and unique with it, and I really appreciate different games like this. A locksmith. Oh. Pretty cool, eh? 5 coins for 1 key, lock-picking kit, special key. Which doesn't help me because I spent all my money on food for some reason, even though I don't think my run's going to be able to keep going on forever. A boudoir. Ho ho! I really should be going to the parlor, but you know. What can I say? I'm having some fun. Well, that's kind of quaint. Rooms for rooms on rooms. But yeah, that's kind of the idea of the blueprints, is just, it's a world that you make. Okay, that's good. No matter what I do, my journey is basically not really gonna go further, is it? Yeah, because even if I extend it, it's just like the end of it. Ah, the lucky rabbit's foot. Nice. Yeah, it looks like I might have met my match on this one. I'm basically gonna have to call it a day. As well as my inventory. No, not my inventory. But yeah, that's the challenge. That's the fun loop of this one, is trying to progress through it, making the right choices, gathering the stuff you need, and then trying to become the heir to this place. And I loved the art direction of this game too. Like, it's got a very unique sort of aesthetic. Like, it's not like a horror game, you know what I mean? Like, it's not trying to like scare you or anything. It's not trying to like, I mean, I guess the idea of being in a place where the rooms are always shifting is kind of terrifying to some. But, like, that's not really what they're going for. Like, there should be a sense of mystery, a sense of, like, oh, you know, to a degree where it's like, oh, what's going on here and stuff like that. But the idea is just really, really quite interesting to me because it's something different. I'm hoping we're going to get more experimental games like this over time. If that makes sense. Like, it'd be very cool to see this kind of gameplay concept used more, because like it does, I don't know how to describe it, like the stuff where we're getting randomly generated places and rooms and environments. That's something we've seen for games for like a decade or so, if not longer. And you know, like, the idea of it's really neat, but we haven't really seen it explored crazily. Like, I don't know if our generation just isn't there yet, but, you know, as far as, like, generating rooms, environments, blah, blah, blah. But, like, yeah, I feel there could be so much more potential for them to do crazier things with this sort of a thing, gameplay-wise, and I'm hoping they get to evolve it. It would have been nice to have that right off the bat, eh? Okay, we'll call it a day so you could see the change up and stuff. Even though I'm sure there's probably something a little bit more I could do with that little thing, but the room 46. Where is room 46? So we got 18 rooms, rank 4, save and continue. That's the neat thing, is like you could just kind of leave if you want, and you're not really like stuck. You're not really stuck at all, and that's kind of cool. And then day 2 begins. Yeah, anyways. Like, there is, you know, there's a bit to this game. I understand that you may not necessarily find it utterly fascinating, but to me, like, it is, like, there's strategy to it, and there's luck to it. Drawn floor plans, you must have one to draft. Oh, I don't like the idea of that. We're going for the utility closet right off the bat. Wait, can we turn on the power for these other places? The garage? See, there's some like, again, like you're gonna have to really fiddle around with it, if that makes sense. And like every part of this game is drawn. I think I was kind of getting to it, but I sort of almost got sidetracked. But like, there's such a nice sort of aesthetic to every area of this game, like just in terms of, I don't know how to describe it. Like every room, it's quite beautifully drawn. I like the art direction. I like the style of it. And it just seems like they've got such a unique and interesting aesthetic going on with this game. Like everything is detailed, everything is vibrant. Visually, it's all quite stunning to take in, and yeah, they've really got something cool here. That's the concept of it. But it's just whether or not you yourself are going to be like, oh, I like what this is, I like what they're going for. Because it is something that's a little harder to sell people on because it is so odd. A secret passage? Room of a color of your choice. How could I say no? Huh. The key to the bedroom. See, isn't that like, they've got such a, I want the aquarium. No. Ugh. I wanted the aquarium. See, that's the thing, is you keep going and you keep finding like little secrets and you read things about stuff and it just like, it gets, to me it gets really, really intriguing because you're just like, oh, what's gonna happen next? What kind of weird thing are you gonna like come across? Like what's gonna be helpful for you? What's gonna be not helpful for you? What kind of like lore kind of thing are you gonna find? Yeah, it's quite interesting. Elaborate lavatory. And then there's like little stuff outside, and it's just, it's such a tease of an interesting concept of a gameplay for me. And that's mostly what I'm trying to instill, is the idea that like, it's kind of a little crazy. It reminds me of Clue almost, you know, like Clue, but not like, oh, he murdered this person in this room or something like that, but Clue as in, you know, the little rooms, the different segmented places, the different spots you can visit. It's quite neat. Yeah, it's very, very neat. That's the biggest takeaway I really want you to have is this game I find just utterly fascinating. And I know a very specific type of folk will find this to be utterly intriguing to me as well, because the whole thing is a puzzle. Obviously there's a puzzle of puzzles where you get going, but like, you know, the puzzle itself is actually fascinating. Like, can I build the rooms to find this room? Will I get to where I'm going? Yeah. No, it's genuinely neat. A spare room. Because, like, you're trying to continue your adventure, and sometimes you just get stuck, and you're like, ugh, and then you gotta come back, and you do another day. I love the idea of the aggravating, like, just imagine how aggravating it would be that you're, you know, to be the heir to whatever. And it kind of like, it comes down to you having to explore this nightmare of a place that's always shifting. It would actually make like a very interesting, oh, I want the garage. It would actually make like a very interesting show or movie. Someone that's trapped in a place and it's like, well, not really trapped, I guess, but like trying to figure out this would actually make a very, very interesting film. Car keys. Because, like, you would sit there, and the idea would be, like, oh, you know, finding something about yourself, finding something about your family, and you could have, like, mysteries of this, like, ever-shifting house. It could either be, like, a horror film. Well, the idea of it's basically horrific, but it could be a horror film, or it could be something that's a little bit more fun and kind in concept, but definitely a lot of potential for something on this one, I will say that. What a neat game. Genuinely, something worth checking out if you find this interesting.